All right, let's get right into it. When you think of the excretory system, you probably just think about, the body's plumbing. But it's so much more than that. It's this incredibly smart, non-stop life support system that keeps your entire internal world in perfect balance. And right at the heart of it all? Your kidneys.
I mean, think about this for a second. Every single moment you're alive, your cells are busy making stuff. And that process creates waste. Some of it is actually pretty toxic. So, what's going on here? How is your body dealing with this constant internal threat without you even feeling a thing?
Well, the answer is this amazing process called excretion. It's basically the body's essential cleanup crew, getting rid of all that metabolic junk. And its main goal, its whole purpose really, is to maintain what we call homeostasis. That's just a fancy word for that perfect, stable internal state your body craves to function. Without it, toxins would pile up and things would get bad, really fast.
And you know what? This isn't just a human problem. Every single living thing, from a tiny amoeba to a giant whale, faces the exact same challenge. What do you do with all the toxic junk that comes from, being alive? And the number one problem is something called nitrogenous waste. It's what's left over when you break down proteins.
To tackle this, evolution came up with three main game plans. If you're a fish and live surrounded by water, you can use what's called ammonotelism. You just dump highly toxic ammonia straight out because you've got tons of water to dilute it. We humans, on the other hand, use ureotelism. We convert that nasty ammonia into a much less toxic chemical, urea, which doesn't need as much water to get rid of. But the real water-saving champion is ureotelism, which turns waste into a thick paste to save every single precious drop.
And it's so cool when you look across the animal kingdom. You see how these solutions are just perfectly tailored to where an animal lives. Nature definitely doesn't do one-size-fits-all when it comes to waste disposal.
Let's start simple. Check out a flatworm. It uses these little structures called flame cells. And interestingly, their main job isn't even waste removal. It's something called osmoregulation, which is really just about managing the water and salt balance inside the worm's body. Super basic, but it gets the job done. Okay, now let's jump to the complete opposite end of the spectrum. You've got masters of water conservation, like birds and reptiles. They use that uricotelic strategy we just talked about. They turn their waste into uric acid, which comes out as a paste. This saves an incredible amount of water, which is a total game changer if you need to be light for flight or if you live somewhere really dry. All right, enough about other animals. Let's zoom in on the star of our show, the human system. Forget simple tubes and pastes. We're talking about a pair of high-tech, bean-shaped purification plants.
So the whole setup is pretty straightforward. You've got two kidneys, those are the filters, then a pair of tubes called ureters to carry the urine away. You have the urinary bladder to store it all, and finally the urethra, which is the exit. Simple, right? But all the real magic, that happens deep inside the kidneys.
So if you could slice a kidney open, you'd immediately see two different zones. There's an outer layer that looks kind of grainy, that's the cortex, and then there's a deeper, more striped-looking inner part called the medulla. This layout is absolutely crucial for how the whole thing works.
And packed inside each one of your kidneys, which, by the way, only weighs about as much as a baseball, you have roughly this many individual filtering units. Yeah, 1 million. It's a mind-boggling number of tiny little machines crammed into such a small organ.
And what are these microscopic workhorses called? They're nephrons. These are the real heroes of the story. Each one is a tiny, complex machine that's responsible for cleaning your blood.
Think of each nephron like a tiny, super efficient assembly line. It all starts at the glomerulus, which is this little tangled-up ball of blood vessels that acts as the first filter. That's cradled inside a cup called Bowman's capsule. From there, all the filtered liquid gets sent down a long, winding tube, the renal tubule, which is where the real processing happens. This is where your body decides what to keep and what to toss.
So how does this whole assembly line actually work? Because it's not just a simple filter, not at all. It's this super elegant and precise three-step process. And it's happening in all those millions of nephrons right now, as you're listening to this.
So here's the game plan. First up, you have filtration, where a huge amount of fluid is squeezed out of your blood. Then comes reabsorption, where your body smartly takes back almost everything it needs. And finally, there's secretion, where it does one last check and tosses in a few more waste products for good measure.
Okay, brace yourself for this number. In just one day, your kidneys filter a staggering 180 liters of fluid.
I mean, that is enough to fill a bathtub. It's an absolutely incredible amount of work for 2 organs that can fit in the palm of your hand.
This first step is basically brute force. Your blood pressure literally pushes water, salts, glucose, amino acids, and waste like urea right through the filter. The only things that get left behind in the blood are the big things like proteins and your blood cells.
Now, obviously, if you were making 180 liters of urine a day, that would be a problem. So where does all that fluid go? Well, this number is the answer. Your body reclaims nearly all of it. And this is where the real genius of the system comes in. This second step, tubular reabsorption, is basically a massive, high-stakes recycling operation. The nephron works to actively pull back all the good stuff, all the glucose, the amino acids, the salts, and of course, about 99% of the water, leaving just the concentrated waste behind.
But wait, the story doesn't end there. The kidneys aren't just on some automatic program. Their function is constantly being fine-tuned by a really sophisticated hormonal control system to meet your body's exact needs from one moment to the next. Think of it like this. 2 key hormonal systems are the managers here. If you're getting dehydrated, a hormone called ADH, or antidiuretic hormone, tells the kidneys, hey, save water, and your urine gets more concentrated. Then, if your blood pressure ever drops too low, a whole other system called RAS kicks in. That's a mouthful. It stands for renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system, and its job is to tell your kidneys to hang on to salt and water to get that blood pressure back up.
And that RAS system, it's like a secret agent mission. The kidney senses the problem, low blood pressure, and it releases an enzyme called renin. This one move sets off a whole domino effect of hormones that all have one simple mission: restore order, get that blood pressure back to normal, and keep the whole system stable.
And that's the whole beautiful dance, isn't it? You have the heavy-duty filtration, the super smart recycling, and this dynamic on-the-fly regulation. It's this non-stop, perfectly coordinated balancing act that keeps your internal world in that perfect state of homeostasis 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
So, after all of that incredible complexity, this whole system of filtration and recycling and hormonal controls, what's the one thing you can do to help it all run smoothly? It's kind of amazing, isn't it? The most advanced life support system in your body runs best on the simplest fuel there is. Maybe it's time we all listen to what our kidneys are asking for.